Hello everybody and welcome to English Grammar with Ameya sir. What you see here are the lessons, the units, the chapters that we have covered thus far. So any time that you're wishful of studying them, you should know they're available here on our channel. I am really happy today because we are going to deal with the unit 4.2. We are talking about the 10th standard state board, the SSC, the English Kumarbharati. Unit 4.2, the name of the chapter is The Luncheon, written by William Maugham. And there is a particular reason why I find this lesson interesting, why you will find this lesson very interesting. It is a humorous incident that happened when the writer was on a date. I repeat, it's a humorous encounter that happened, humorous incident when the writer was on a date. Sounds interesting, is interesting, so let's get started. As usual, first what we will do is find out more about the writer, and so let's find out about the writer. William Maugham, born 1874 and he passed away in 1965. He was a distinguished British playwright, novelist and short story writer. I think this lesson classifies as a short story writer. He was among the most popular writers of his era. Era is the time period, and reputedly the highest paid author during the 1930s. Now also notice, guys, whenever it is 1930s, how the S is put at the end, okay, 1930s. His work is characterized by a clear, unadorned style. That means very simple. Unadorned is very simple, cosmopolitan settings, and a shrewd understanding of human nature. Guys, what do you mean by shrewd? Shrewd is someone who is able to assess a situation and be smart. That's known as shrewd, okay, with a lot of intellect. That is what we mean by shrewd. So shrewd understanding of human nature. A most delightfully humorous narrative, The Luncheon, is a slice of life story about Maugham's luncheon date proposed to him by a woman who he hopes is a supporter of his art. So Maugham expects that this woman who is on a date with him is a supporter of his art. But turns out it's really going to be humorous and something that he had not expected. We will find out more about this, but there is some interesting assignment coming your way. Did you spot the spelling error? Now, come on, be honest here. Be honest here. Half a second, not half a second, too much, half a minute for you. Just go through it and let's see if you have observed the spelling error. Please let me know, guys. Have you observed a spelling error over here? I hope that you have spotted the error. Got it? Because I'm going to reveal it now, any second. Well, I hope you got it. Okay, here is the error. Narrative. Look at that. It should be Narrative. Now be honest and tell me if you got that mistake. If you spotted that error. I hope you did. Okay. Now we are going to start with the lesson. When I read the lesson, you know you should give me your 100% undivided attention. Ooh, it's going to be interesting. Something humorous when on a date. Let's get started. I caught sight of her at the play and in answer to her call. I went over during the interval and sat down beside her. Guys, I sat down beside her, not besides her. Remember, there's a difference. It was long since I had last seen her, and if someone had not mentioned her name, I hardly think I would have recognized her. She addressed me brightly. Now here again, guys, did you spot the spelling error? There was yet again a spelling error here. In the textbook, you have this error. This is the screenshot of your textbook. So there is this error. And I'm sure you spotted this. Sure you did. Should be Addressed, addressed. So what is the writer sharing with us? Writer is saying that he was at a certain place and he had not actually, he had forgotten this woman, but she reminded him. And then he recollected that, yeah, there was this woman. Yeah, sure, I remember. And now he is going to start the story. So you are excited. I am excited about it. So let's continue, I'm sure. What is this? How is this date going to be like? Let's go to the next slide. Well, it's many years since we first met. How time does fly. Look at the exclamatory line here, guys. How time does fly. That means doesn't time really fly past? We are none of us getting any younger. Do you remember the first time I saw you? You asked me to luncheon. Did I remember? Now, here again, it's rhetoric, is it not? Did I remember? The writer is clearly saying that I don't remember, but the woman was asking me that if you remember, or you should remember, that you asked me on a date, you asked me for a luncheon. Do you remember? And the writer asks us, do I remember? That means he does not remember. Okay, now let's find out now what's going to happen. Did I remember? Well, I did not remember. Now, this is quite sizable, the paragraph, so give me your 100% undivided attention. Let's get started. It was 20 years ago, and I was living in Paris. Guys, Paris in French is also said with a silent S. It is pronounced as Paris. So remember that. Of course, when we do it in English, it's always Paris. The S is not silent, but some people say Paris, and the S is silent. I had a tiny apartment and I was earning barely enough money. So barely enough money is an important part. He was not rich then, 20 years ago. She had read a book of mine and had written to me about it. I answered, thanking her, and presently I received from her another letter saying she was passing through Paris and would like to have a chat with me. But her time was limited and the only free moment she had was on the following Thursday, and would I give her a little luncheon at the Foyot's afterwards. Foyot's is a restaurant and it was so far beyond my means. What do you mean by that? It means not affordable. The writer has already told us that he wasn't making so much money, and so to take a date to Foyot. And by the way, this restaurant was really famous, Foyot. I'm sure you can find this on the internet, but I don't think it is it operates currently. It was shut down many years ago, but at that time, so it shows that this story is quite old. At that time, it was very popular in Paris, okay, Foyot, and so it was beyond something that the writer could afford. Well, that does happen from time to time, is it not? You have someone for a date and then the request is quite exorbitant, quite ostentatious, and the writer clearly in this case does not have, he barely earns enough money for his subsistence or survival. It is interesting now how we'll deal with the situation. So far beyond my means that I had never even thought of going there. So the writer himself, when even alone, had not ventured inside Foyot's. Now here he had to take some woman on a date there. Interesting. I had 80 francs. Francs is the French currency. I believe it is the old currency. The late, I think in 1992, maybe they adopted euro, didn't they? Maybe 2002. What was it? Just find it over the internet and let me know, guys. Leave comments. Sure, francs is a currency in France. To last me the rest of the month. So he had only 80 francs. Guys, you need to remember here that the writer is in possession of only 80 francs. And he is thinking that, hey, I have to survive the remainder of the month. I'm not going to earn more now. So this is it. This is what I have, 80 francs. And I'm supposed to take this woman on a date, and that too at the Foyot's. What's going to happen? Interesting, is it not? So, but I'm sure he's a decent man. Say yes. Let's see what happens now. Okay. And a modest luncheon should not cost me, or rather should not cost more than 15. So the writer initially was prepared. He thought maybe, come on, 15 francs at the most is what I'll have to give as the bill. So he thought it was okay. If I cut out coffee for the next 2 weeks, I could manage well enough. So the writer clearly here is sharing with us that if I sacrifice on my coffee, then I can manage this date and be happy with the 80 francs that I have. But for that, I have to bear in mind that the bill could approximately be around 15 francs, and therefore I will have to sacrifice my coffee. But then that's manageable. So I think he's going to agree and he's going to take his date to Foyot's. Brilliant. Getting interesting, guys, getting interesting. Nothing here to make a note of. I think we should just make that one particular note that you have. There is one more. Modest is limited. So clearly, a lunch that is not very lavish. That's the meaning here. A limited food is what they'll have probably. Ooh, and there is an interesting entry about the silent S, I'm sure. I was talking about Paris. Yes. I was talking about Paris being referred to as Paris. So let's study some silent S examples. Is this island, guys? No, that's island, right? What about this one? It's the chassis of a car, is it not? This is debris. Okay, please do not say debris, it's debris. Now what's a debris, guys? It's the rubbish, the material, the building, the construction at a construction site. Okay, or especially if a structure is knocked down, you have those pipes, you have those cement and bricks. So the rubbish that is there out of construction is known as debris. It's not debris, it's debris. Just please remember that S is silent there. Okay, what else do we have? Rendezvous. Look at the fourth entry, guys. This is so interesting. That fourth word is not rendezvous. Don't go by the spelling. Again, it's French in origin. It's rendezvous. What is it? It's rendezvous. I repeat, it is rendezvous, meaning a formal meeting arranged between two people. That's known as a rendezvous. The S is silent there. As an assignment, you can find out at least 3 more words with silent S. At least. Now, you should appreciate how I have collected my examples. You see in the first one, S was silent as a second letter. Here you have S, all the 3 occasions. You have the S which is at the end and it's silent. So, S could be silent either in the middle of the spelling or at the end. Try to find more such examples. That's it? Yeah, that's it. The next one, please. Remember all that's happening in the story. 80 francs is what the writer has. Let's see how this is going to go now. I answered that I would meet my friend at Fayotte's on Thursday at 12:30. Guys, this is interesting, is it not? 12:30. In English, whenever you want to express time, instead of saying 12:30, which is like saying numbers, it's always better to say 12:30. That creates really a nice impression. It creates a good impact. Sounds better. Instead of just saying 12:30, 12:30. It's a very nice way of doing it. So I hope that point is noted. So 12:30, they agreed to meet at the Fayette. She was in appearance imposing. What do you mean by that? Very grand and impressive. Well, surely, woman on a date. She had come all prepared, looking stunningly beautiful. And well, she definitely looked imposing. So she was very impressive. The display really was magnificent. She was looking very pretty indeed. All right, now what? Rather than attractive. Now this is important that the writer says that she was imposing rather than attractive. So the writer here is clearly saying that she overdid it. That's what writer here is clearly trying to say. She wasn't looking that attractive. The display was ostentatious. So it was much more than was really necessary, according to the writer. Remember that, according to the writer. Oh, girls will never say that, is it not? Whatever, how much ever it is only less. Okay, anyway, so he thinks that it was a little over. And she gave me the impression of having more teeth. White and large and even. And this could be a climax example, guys. White and large and even. So she's really come all prepared and she's definitely looking stunning. In fact, the writer says it was ostentatious. Than were necessary for any practical purpose. So again, now you can understand the humor here. What's the writer saying? The writer is telling us that her teeth were all white, all large, all even looking, and they were in fact something very grand in appearance than were necessary for the practical purpose. So what do you mean by that? The teeth are only meant to chew your food, is not? That's why you're on a date. So he is humorously saying that the display, even about her teeth, he says that it was really ostentatious. I'm using this word quite a lot. Ostentatious, meaning very gaudy, very showy, for show, for creating an impression, is known as ostentation or ostentatious. That's the adjective form. Alright, let's see how this date is going to go. Seems interesting. Next slide, please. No more entries here. She was talkative. Oh, come on. Need you say? A woman was talkative. Hardly a news headline, is it not? She was talkative. Let's see, I can teach you a word for that. Sure, there you go. For talkative, if you want to create a good impression, the other word you can use is loquacious. Guys, what did I say? For talkative, the word is loquacious. I repeat, I'm saying loquacious. 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 You will really create a good impression. Loquacious is somebody who's very talkative. And she was. She was talkative, but since she seemed to want to talk about me, I was prepared to be an attentive listener. Is it not? Yeah, sure. Every boy here will agree. You are talkative, that's one thing. But if you are willing to talk about me when on a date, well, I am all ears for you. I'm what? I am all ears for you. Because you want to talk about me when on a date, I don't mind if you are talkative, because I'll get to listen I will get to listen to my praise, or maybe you're going to say something that you like about me. So the writer said I was okay with that. Her being loquacious did not bother him that much. That's what he's saying there. Okay. I was prepared to be an active listener. I was startled. What do you mean by that? Very alarmed or very shocked. When the menu was brought, okay? When the menu was brought. And that's how you should pronounce this, guys. Menu, not menu. It's not a Punjabi word. It shouldn't be pronounced as menu. Okay? Menu daso. You don't say that. Okay? It's menu. Whatever is on the card for order. Okay? Whatever it is that you can be served at a restaurant. So he was very alarmed. Why? For the prices, mind you, not prizes, okay, prices. For the prices were great deal higher than I had thought. But she reassured me. What did she say? I never eat anything for luncheon, she said. Guys, now really got to appreciate this. The writer was very shocked when he saw the menu card, because the prices were on a higher side. Very, very exorbitant. And he knew how much money he had. He was prepared for nothing more than 15 francs. And that too, he would have to sacrifice his coffee for that. We saw that. Now what has happened is, just the moment when he was really taken aback or startled, as he says, the woman reassured him that I never eat anything for luncheon. I never eat anything for luncheon. I will have something that is very moderate. And so the writer was happy. This wouldn't cost me a lot. Okay, I'm happy now. So that was reassuring. Will it be the case? Find out now. I never eat anything for luncheon, she said. Oh, I don't say that, I answered generously. So the writer is trying to be brave here. The writer is saying, hey, come on, you can have what you want. At the back of his mind, he knows that, it's okay that she doesn't eat too much. I never eat more than one thing. I never eat more than one thing. Now, this could be a question for affirmative negative. Surely that can be the question. What is she saying here? She's saying, I never eat more than one thing. So, never makes it negative. I never eat more than one thing means I only eat one thing. Surely, I only eat one thing means I never eat more than one thing. That could be an affirmative negative question. I think people eat far too much nowadays. A little fish, perhaps. So she is in a mood to enjoy something, some dish of fish. I wonder if they have any salmon. Now this word is very important, guys. Salmon. The L is silent. In the slide previously, we were talking about the silent S. And here now we have salmon. It's a fish. And the L is silent. Please do not pronounce it any other way. This is salmon. L is silent here. And this is how a salmon looks. The L is silent. Now, we need to go to the notepad as mentioned there. For the first time, probably I'll take you there. I think that's the first time, is it not? But the countdown really is not necessary. Why am I taking you to the notepad? It's because we want to talk about the silent L here. Let's talk about the silent L. You have it silent in words like calm. You have it silent in words like palm. And you have it silent in, well, there are many words, is it not? You can say walk, You can say talk. Imagine someone saying we are talking. Can you even bear that if someone says we are talking, we are walking? You just ask the person to please not talk, is it not? 100%. Your assignment? Your assignment is to find out at least 5 more examples with silent L. Earlier I gave you the assignment of finding 3 more words. Am I right? 3 more words with silent S. And now you can find 5 more examples of silent L. You can probably find more examples where L is in distinct locations if you can. But that's how the salmon looks. I was referring to salmon. L is silent. Please pronounce it as salmon. Essentially, it is that way. Are there any other entries here? Yeah, there could be a grammar entries or not. I never eat anything for luncheon. We took a look at a different example here, but this could also be an affirmative negative example. I never eat anything for luncheon. I hardly ever eat anything for luncheon. This is interesting. That's it, guys. There are quite a few entries here. I will grant you a minute for this. Is it? Can I grant you a minute here? Nah, pause the video. Please pause the video because we are in a good mood here, and let's proceed with the date. This is going to be interesting. The writer is a gentleman, but he is at an expensive restaurant. He's at the Foyot's. The woman has assured him that she normally doesn't eat anything heavy for luncheon, but now she's just ordered salmon, and I'm telling you that this is on the expensive side. So already alarm bells. It's interesting. So please pause the video, and now let us go to the next slide. By the way, the image that you see here is the caviar. I think we are going to study it eventually. Just to tell you, the image is nothing but caviar. Well, it was early in the year for salmon and it was not on the menu, but I asked the waiter if there was any. Yes, a beautiful salmon had just come in. It was the first they had had. Guys, now look at this. The first they had had. Again, I'm saying the first they had had. Guys, how can this be right? The first they had had. This is grammatically correct. The first that they had had. The first had is for the tense. And the other had is for the possession. The first that they had. Imagine the first that they had seen. Past perfect tense. The first that they had seen. Then that had is past perfect tense. So similarly, the first one that they had. So again, let's get back to that. And this one, the first they had is absolutely correct. The first had is for the tense, makes it past perfect tense. The second had is for the possession. I hope that this was interesting. I ordered it for my guest. So look at the thorough gentleman that the writer is. He immediately ordered salmon for her. At this point itself, she has broken her own code. What is her own code? She said that she hardly has anything for luncheon. So first, she ordered salmon and now she wants to have some caviar. By the way, talking of caviar, I'm sure, take a look at this image. I'm sure if you watch the movie Titanic, when the hero Leonardo DiCaprio was invited for supper, you had the caviar served there. If I'm not wrong, try to recollect that scene. I am very sure that caviar was on the menu. Leave it in the comments if you agree with that or if that's the case. I think that's what it is. You remember, right? The scene I'm referring to is after Leonardo DiCaprio saves Kate Winslet. He is invited for supper, and there on the menu you have caviar. And I'm sure that some people might have even thought of that immediately when they saw this image for the first time. I wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, let's continue. So the writer ordered some caviar for the guest. The waiter asked her if she would have something while it was being cooked. No, she answered. I never eat more than one thing. Well, clearly she should listen to herself. What did I just say, guys? Clearly she should listen to herself. I mean, come on, woman. You already said you don't eat more than one thing for the luncheon, and now you've already ordered 2 things on the menu. So definitely a big question mark here. Like, what are you up to? Interesting. Let's continue. Unless You had a little caviar. So now there is the exception. So she is saying, I don't normally eat more than one thing for supper, for luncheon, unless you had a little caviar. I never mind caviar. So I'll surely have it. Please, bring it. And so what is caviar exactly? Well, I've shown you in the image how it looks, but what is it exactly? An expensive dish made of eggs, roe, R-O-E, of a fish. So those are small eggs, and that's how caviar is prepared. Okay, I've already talked about this had. Remember? We've done this. Next slide, please. I knew I could not afford caviar, but I could not very well tell her that. That's always an issue, is it not? Come on, that's always an issue. The guy knows how much money he has. And typically this is a situation if it's a college dude or if it's someone who has modest earning. But here he's being a thorough gentleman here. A thorough gentleman, I'm saying. He was prepared only for 15 francs. Let me remind you of it. Remember, we saw that at the start of the lesson. I think already you've exceeded that budget. Already, I have no doubt about it. But he is really not losing his attitude here. He's being a thorough gentleman. That's what I appreciate. So now, continue. For myself, I chose the cheapest dish on the menu, and that was a mutton chop. Guys, do not pronounce this word as mutton. It's mutton. Like button. Mutton. It's always like that. And this is interesting, is it not? So he knows he doesn't have a lot of money. So he lets the woman have what she wants. And for himself, now at least that's the thing within his control, is it not? So for him, he just ordered whatever was the cheapest. And that reminds me something that is emotional. Sometimes our dads do this, is it not? They will do everything for the family, and at times it will take a back seat. You would not care about his own needs. That happens a lot, is it not? Let me know. Something emotional, suddenly I recollected. So he himself is not ordering something lavish because he cannot afford it, but he lets the woman have whatever it is that she wants because he has promised her a date. Remember? All right, let's see how this is going to proceed now. So she has salmon. She has ordered caviar. The writer has ordered something very cheap for himself. He has ordered a mutton chop. Now, chop is a thick slice of meat, by the way, mutton chop. Remember, do not pronounce it as mutton. It is mutton, like button. The un sound is very clear. I think you are unwise to eat meat. Now, look at the audacity of this woman. She is saying, oh, you're ordering meat for yourself? That's not wise. Don't order meat for yourself. Now, the writer will really start to lose his patience and probably be a little annoyed because this behavior is irksome. What did I just say? This behavior is a little irksome. It's exasperating. It's irritating a little bit because you should worry about what you want. And there is a reason why I ordered it. And now you are trying to, be a dietitian here. But don't do that. So she says that I think you are unwise to eat meat, she said. I don't believe in overloading my stomach. Clearly, you are the one who's ordered 2 things on the menu. You're talking about overeating. Sure. Huh? She ate the caviar and she ate the salmon. I have no doubt that this is a grammar entry, guys. No doubt about it. By the way, there is one grammar entry before we deal with that. I chose the cheapest. Now, the cheapest is a superlative degree. How are we going to change it to the positive? Imagine the line is that I chose the cheapest dish on the menu. So this is the question. I chose the cheapest dish on the menu. They'll ask you to change it to the positive degree. How are we going to deal with it? No other. Now you start with no other because there is no one of the factor in it. There is no one of the factor in the question. So you will start with no other. No other dish on the menu was as cheap as a mutton chop. Then the other grammar entry I was talking about is using not only but also. She ate the caviar and she ate the salmon. Now here I've made it interesting because now you have to make a choice. Is it A or is it B? And please be honest. I'm sure you will be honest about it. So use not only but also. Guys, what do you think? What's the correct answer? Is it A or is it B? The correct answer is, come on, be honest. When I'm going to reveal the answer now, but be honest about it. It's A. Now let's see what is the difference. Here, not only is initiated before the verb that is common. What did I just say? Before the verb that is common. In the line that we have, the verb ate is common for both. I repeat, the verb ate is common for both. What both? Ate caviar and also ate salmon. For both the things, the verb ate is common, is it not? Not E-I-G-H-T, A-T-E-A. It's common. So whenever that is the case, you initiate that verb first. You don't put not only first, you put that verb first and then you initiate your not only. So the correct answer is, she ate not only the caviar but also the salmon. Again, L is silent. Please remember that. She talked gaily of art. Now here, gaily means very happily, in a very merry mood, in a very happy mood, or happily. She talked gaily of art and literature and music. I've shared this many a times now in our previous videos. When you talk to somebody, typically when on a date, you always talk about art, music, literature, because more often than not, I'm not saying 100% always, but more often than not, that is what people talk about. So that's why having such things or talent in either of these fields, art, literature, music, is important, because that is what is normally talked about. Barely, seldom does the woman know that what writer is undergoing. So she is talking very happily about art and literature and music. And I think, let me take you back there because it's climax. We had in our previous slide seen one of such examples where it was climax, is it not? Again, here she was talking about art and literature and music. Remember, the writers already told us that she was loquacious, she was talkative. Remember? So she kept talking and talking and talking. So that's why you see, rightly I'm pointing out that this is climax. So she kept talking about art and literature and music. Let's continue. But I wondered what the bill would come to. When my mutton chop arrived, she took me quite seriously to task. So she took him quite seriously to task. What's going to happen here? Don't even think that she will stop here. She definitely will probably want something else. Let's see if our guess is right. There is a figures of speech. I told you already, it's climax because the ideas are arranged in an ascending order. That's it. You can pause the video, go back and pause it if you want to make notes. At the moment, let's proceed. I see that you are in a habit of eating a heavy luncheon. I'm sure it's a mistake. Now, you would think that this could be the writer telling the woman, is it not? But it's actually the other way. The woman here is telling this to the writer, that it looks like you have a habit of really eating heavily, or something that is very heavy for luncheon. You should not do that. I'm sure it's a mistake. And guess who has ordered, a lot from the menu? All right. Talking of hypocrisy. Why don't you follow my example? Oh, really? The woman is saying, why don't you follow my example? Just eat one thing. For God's sake, for God's sake. You already ordered 2 things on the menu. Still, she's boasting about eating only one thing. I don't know how that is. I couldn't possibly eat anything more unless they had some of those giant asparagus. Now, asparagus is something that we will study. This is the asparagus. And if I am not wrong, in Hindi, it is called shatavari. It is used as a vegetable. Of course, I don't need to tell you that it's expensive. It's known as shatavari in Hindi. You can Google this, but that's how it looks. And now this would probably be the 3rd thing she will order. Okay, so she is clearly saying that I don't have a lot unless they have those giant asparagus. OMG. The grammar entry is make negative. Let's study that. I am sure it is a mistake. Make it negative. I have no doubt. She's saying I am sure, is it not? She's saying I am sure. That means I have no doubt that it is a mistake. Further, she says, I should be sorry to leave Paris without having some of them. So initially, I don't understand this woman. That's why it's really humorous. First, she said a very early remark is that I hardly eat anything for luncheon to begin with. Then she ordered salmon. Isn't that the sequence? Yeah. Then she actually ordered caviar. Now she doesn't want to leave Paris, not live, leave Paris without having some of one, those giant asparagus. This will be the third thing, and she is advising the writer not to eat something that is really heavy. That's a bad habit, she says. Look who's talking. Look who's talking. All right. My heart sank. What do you mean by this? My heart sank is a phrase which means I lost hope or that I felt very unhappy. Guys, obviously the writer is unhappy here. Come on, try to understand. The writer doesn't have enough money. He was prepared for a bill that is not more than 15 francs. And now it looks like he is also going to have to order asparagus for the woman. But I bet he will be a thorough gentleman and he will do that. But clearly, now it is really getting exasperating for the writer. Getting what? Getting exasperating. And I had used earlier a word, irksome. I-R-K-S-O-M-E. Exasperating. E-X-A-S-P-E-R-A-T-I-N-G. Exasperating. Little annoying, irritating, something that invokes anger. Good words. A couple of words there. Irksome. I've used that, and exasperating for the writer, the way she's behaving. Okay, surely. Let's see now. My heart sank. I had seen them in the shops and I knew that they were horribly expensive. So the writer knew that, yeah, surely he could order those asparagus, but it will again cost him a lot. My mouth had often watered at the sight of them. Now that is why you should understand the emotions here. The writer would have loved to eat asparagus himself, but then he did not have that kind of money. His mouth used to water every time he used to see those asparagus. He'd seen them in the shops and he knew that they cost a lot. So he himself had not ordered, although he liked them, he did not order asparagus for himself. But the woman doesn't care, right? She doesn't know, so she will just probably go on about her order. Anyway, I am not in the least hungry, my guest sighed. Now, what do you mean by sighed? A deep exhalation of sadness or relief. Now, look at the funny part here. Further, she adds, but if you insist, I don't mind having some asparagus. Surely, why would you mind? So now she says that I am not hungry. I am not hungry. But hey, if you insist, surely, why not? I will have some asparagus. Oh, come on, that's the fourth thing. You began with you don't have anything much for luncheon, and now you are about to make or place your fourth order, while the writer had just ordered mutton chops, and that was wrong according to her. Good going, good going. All right. If you insist, she says, if you insist, I ordered them. Now this is the AWW feeling will creep up within you, isn't it? Oh, the writer ordered that. Aren't you hungry to have any? Aren't you going to have any? She asked. Now this is rubbing salt on wounds. No, I never eat asparagus. Now this is a lie. The writer is lying. Come on. The writer says, oh no, I don't eat asparagus. He knows, woman, he must be thinking to himself, I don't have that kind of money. Will you please have mercy? That must be playing on the back, in the back of his mind. He knows that his budget is limited. So that's like rubbing salt on wounds. The woman is asking, don't you want to have it? The writer says, no, I don't eat it. He loves them. Anyway, this is really sad, is it not? Are there any other entries? You can pause the video here. There's one entry here. I never eat asparagus. Make it affirmative is what they'll want. I hardly ever eat asparagus. All right, then. Let's continue. Give me your 100% undivided attention. This is going to be interesting, and I very well want to find out how this is going to end, guys. Okay. We waited for the asparagus to be cooked. I have said this many a times that you must make the t sound here, okay? Pronounce it as cooked instead of cooked. Don't make that d sound. It's cooked, okay? Panic seized me. What do you mean by seized? Got hold of or took possession. The writer really was panic stricken. It was not a question now of how much money I should have left over for the rest of the month, but whether I had enough to pay the bill. It's a very, very serious situation now. Earlier, if you remember, the writer said that he was prepared for 15 francs and then somehow he will manage with whatever remains for the rest of the month. Now the rest of the month was out of question. The big question here, the crux was C-R-U-X, the most important part. The crux here is whether he will have enough money to pay the bill. That's the crux here. Let alone how he would spend the remainder of the month. That's secondary now. She has ordered so much that he now is worried. He is panic stricken. He's what? He is panic stricken. He's really in a state of panic and he's thinking whether I would be able to pay the bill. That's the main concern here. That's the crux now. C-R-U-X. All right. It would be mortifying, meaning very embarrassing, feeling ashamed, something like that. Guys, it is embarrassing, is it not? Anyone would be embarrassed in such a situation. You go to a fancy restaurant. It's the Foyot's here. You remember, right? F-O-Y-O-T''S. And then when you are given the bill, you say you don't have enough money. That would be definitely mortifying, definitely embarrassing, definitely something to be ashamed of. That's what is going to happen. So the writer is really panic stricken and for right reasons here. To find myself 10 francs short and be obliged to borrow from my guest. Well, that would really be embarrassing if he had to borrow money from the guest on a date. Well, here I want to ask you something. Hasn't the dating scenario changed in the modern world? I bet nowadays the boys and the girls, well, they split the bill, is it not? I think the time has come, but the story is quite old. So the gentleman approach was that you pay the bill. But I think in the modern times, it's 2020, they always split the bill. Who knows? In some situations, it could be the girl paying the entire bill. I don't know. But here, the writer is really worried. Will I be able to pay the bill? And very embarrassing, it will be for me, he thinks, that if I have to borrow from this woman, it won't be fair. It would really be embarrassing. He uses the word mortifying. It would be really very sad if I have to borrow money from this woman on a date. All right. I knew exactly how much money I had, and if the bill came to more, doesn't even want to talk about it. I guess this line could have ended with a set of dots, which are referred to as the ellipses, showing continuation. I made up my mind that I would put my hand in my pocket and with a dramatic cry start up and say it had been picked. What a very nice idea. The writer thought to himself that if the bill, when presented, it turns out it's more than what money I have, what I will do is, the writer is thinking thus, what I will do is I put the hands in my pocket and I will cry loudly and I'll probably say that somebody picked my pocket, and so definitely that's the reason why I've lost all the money that I had. I will say that he was prepared. He was preparing an excuse because now the time has come that he should be worried about how much the bill will amount to. Anyway, of course it would be awkward. Please pronounce it correctly, this word. It's awkward. If she had not enough money enough either to pay the bill. Well, this would really be sad, is it not? Imagine he asked her to pay the bill, and then if she replied that, hey, even I don't have money, I thought I'm on a date, you would pay. And that would really be some situation. All right. Then the only thing would be to leave my watch and say I would come back and pay later. Yeah, that will really be embarrassing. The writer would have to, leave his watch over the counter and probably say that he'll pay later and then get his watch back. Are there any other entries? No. Let's continue. The asparagus appeared. Finally, the order was given, is it not? Appeared, was served. I watched her thrust. What do you mean by thrust? Push. Push them down her throat in large mouthfuls. Remember, the writer also loves asparagus. So it will really be very painful to watch her just have the asparagus when he would have also loved to have some. Now, I'll give you a desi example. Here in Maharashtra, especially since I belong to Konkan, the Alfonso mangoes are a prized possession. So imagine that there is, just one Alfonso mango left, and I watch my cousin or somebody having it. I have sacrificed it, but surely, well, I'm watching someone else have it. Yeah, sure. Of course, as a good gesture, I definitely will let him or her, my cousin, have it. But then, yeah, everybody loves it. So this is the same kind of situation that the writer is undergoing right now. I'm sure you understood that. He also yearns eating asparagus, but he doesn't have enough money to do so. Continue. At last she finished. At last she finished. The writer is relieved that I don't have to watch it anymore. Coffee? I said. Now that's also a question. Coffee? Would you like to have? Yeah. She said yes. Just an ice cream and coffee. Oh, ice cream and coffee. Now this definitely makes us recall everything. Salmon. Then I guess it was a caviar. There was asparagus. Now she wants coffee. She wants ice cream to go with it. Come on. And the statement at the start was, I hardly have anything for luncheon. Not cool. The writer definitely would be worried, should be worried right now. I was past caring now. Look at that. Look at the way this is beautifully expressed. I was past caring now. The writer doesn't care anymore. Like, what are you doing? Okay. He was past caring now. So I ordered coffee for myself and an ice cream and coffee for her. So it was just coffee for the writer and coffee and ice cream for her. All right. There's one thing I thoroughly believe in, she said. Well, now what? Now she is going to tell writer something that she believes in. There are a lot of things that the woman has said she believes in. She said, as she ate the ice cream, one should always get up from a meal feeling one could eat a little more. No way. No way, man. No way. What did she just say? She said that she always felt that one should always get up feeling that one could eat more. So now the writer, he's a thorough gentleman. So now the writer probably would feel like she is still starving. She still wants something more. Whatever she said is suggestive of that. She said that one should get up while one has the feeling that one could eat more. So clearly now I think the writer will ask her this question. And he did. Look at that. Are you still hungry? I asked faintly. Now I bet the writer really was this close falling unconscious. Okay. Are you still hungry? I asked faintly. I pray that all my listeners, all my viewers never get such a date. Okay. Remember this incident. This is really funny, but you should appreciate that the writer is being a thorough gentleman here. Hats off to that. Wonderful indeed. Brilliant. So what do you think, guys? Will she order something more? We'll find out. Any other entries here, guys? No, no more entries. Oh no, I am not hungry. Well, this is some kind of joke, is it not? She's saying I am not hungry. Really? Then what were those things that you ordered? Huh? You see, I don't eat luncheon. Really? Really? I have a cup of coffee in the morning and then dinner. This is extraordinary. She's saying, normally I just have a cup of coffee in the morning and then directly dinner. But I never eat more than one thing for luncheon. Clearly she's violated that rule exclusively for the writer maybe today. I don't know. I was speaking for you. I was speaking for you. So she is still in a mood to advise the writer when she should do some introspection. Somewhat? Some introspection, looking into her own behavior first. Oh, I see. This is gentleman, is it not, approach by the writer. Then a terrible thing happened, as if so far everything was smooth as butter. The writer is saying that something terrible happened. Now what? While we were waiting for the coffee, the head waiter came up to us bearing a large basket full of huge peaches. Now this is how a peach looks, okay? It's a fruit, again, costly fruit. But surely peaches were not in season then. Lord knew what they cost. Clearly, again, concerned. I knew a little later, for my guest going on with her conversation absent-mindedly took one. Oh my God. So the head waiter came there at the table. He was carrying, the basket. Was it not a basket? Yeah, a basket of peaches. And just then the writer realized that his date had just picked one of the basket, and so he is going to have to pay for that as well. So she is saying she doesn't have much, she just has coffee in the morning and directly the dinner, but clearly that doesn't look like over here, and he realized it a little later. Imagine here the character Joey from Friends. So he saw maybe she picked up one of the peaches from the basket. Then he realized that he is going to have to pay for that also now. Amazing. Oh, clearly, extraordinary situation here. Okay. Absent-mindedly is a hyphen word. You see, you have filled your stomach with a lot of meat. Oh, really? You have some guts talking like that, woman. What is she saying? She told the writer that you have filled your stomach with a lot of meat. Mutton chops, that was the order, and clearly she ate a lot, but she's here saying that you have filled your stomach with a lot of meat. My one little miserable chop, and you can't eat anymore. But I have just had a snack and I shall enjoy a peach. So clearly she is referring to all the food that she had as a snack. She will go ahead and enjoy a peach. I've already shown you how it looks. Are there any other entries? Yeah, there's one. I told you about peaches. That's it. Now the lesson is coming closer to the way to its climax, and looking forward how this will end. Okay. The bill came. Ooh, that moment. That moment, guys, that moment. The bill came, and when I paid it, I found that I had only enough for quite inadequate tip. Insufficient. That's the meaning of inadequate. Guys, whenever, I'm sure, whenever even you go to a restaurant, you always pay decent tip to the waiter. Of course, it depends on the service you get. But it is a good practice that if you have been served well, then you do keep a decent tip for the waiter. So the writer could pay the bill, oh, that's a big relief, but he had not a lot of money to leave as tip for the waiter, and he was really sad about it because he was not at fault. The service given was excellent, but he is a little worried that he doesn't have enough money for the tip, and that shows that you should always be considerate. Very, very important. Leave a decent tip. I repeat, if the service has been of that quality, sure. Okay, so now he's there with inadequate tip. Her eyes rested for an instant on 3 francs. So she was really worried. She looked at the writer. You're going to leave 3 francs just as the tip? Really? Isn't that less? I left for the waiter, and I knew that she thought me mean. The writer realized that the woman must have thought that writer was a very mean person. He just left 3 francs for the waiter. That's bad. But when I walked out of the restaurant, I had the whole month before me and not a penny in my pocket. Guys, clearly he spent everything he had. The writer has spent everything he had, and he was prepared only for 15 francs, and now he is worried about how he is going to manage for the remainder of the month. But again, no compromise on decent behavior there. Beautiful. Will the woman realize that? And what will happen next? We'll find out. Follow my example. Still, she is going on and on about her. Follow my example, she says. By the way, this could be a grammar entry. Follow my example for question tag. We'll see if I've covered that. If not, we will deal with it. She said, as we shook hands, and never eat more than one thing for luncheon. Look who is advising. The woman says to the writer, that the writer should follow her example and not eat more than one thing for luncheon. Really? What did you just do there? And you want me to follow your example? The writer again shows a decent approach, attitude. He's never said anything to the woman. Never. Okay, clearly he's running short of money, but he's not left the gentleman approach. Something very important, something very nice, something that you can emulate. Emulate us to copy. Now what? I will do better than that. Now the writer is also in full Chandler mode. Earlier we saw something that resembled Joey's reaction. Now here we have something that resembles Chandler's reaction. So for that you will have to understand the scene and probably visualize it. What did the woman say? The woman said that you should follow my example. Don't eat anything more than one thing for luncheon. Don't eat more than one thing for luncheon. Now in full Chandler mode, the writer will say, I will do even better. I won't have anything for supper tonight. Brilliant. So of course sarcasm intended that if you think that what I had was a little too much, well, I'll do even better than what you are suggesting. I will go without food tonight. And why I say this is sarcasm is because he really has no money. Don't forget, he spent everything that he had. And that's why he's saying that I'll do even better. I will eat nothing for dinner tonight. All right. Humorist, she cried gaily. For the second time, you have this word gaily. So she is enjoying whatever is happening. She cares little for what the writer is undergoing. And I don't think that's intentional because I'm sure she is not aware. She's oblivious about the economic condition. So she is enjoying this, but tough for the writer, sure. Jumping into a cab, she went inside she probably had hired a taxi. She's going inside. Now she wants to go back. You are quite a humorist. And this is black comedy as far as the writer is concerned. Let's look at the entries. Follow my example. There you are. I thought that this was a grammar entry. Add a question tag. Follow my example. Will you? Follow my example, won't you, is also correct, by the way, guys. That's also the correct entry. Let's end this. This is the last slide. Let's end the lesson. Let's see how this ends. The writer will have a sweet revenge. The writer will have his own sweet revenge. Humor intended, of course. You never should have revenge in your heart. Okay, never. Because at the end of the day, if you have revenge in your heart, you will suffer. But this is really interesting. The writer, in a way, had his revenge. Because the gods watch everything, is it not? But I have had my revenge at last. I do not believe that I am a vindictive man, meaning revengeful. But when the gods, G could have been capital, take a hand in the matter, or rather something under their charge or control, it is understandable to observe the result with satisfaction. Today she weighs 21 stone. So what's exactly a stone? It's a unit of weight. That's 14 pounds. Now that's 6.3 or 6.4 kgs. You can do the conversion on Google. Approximately 2 pounds is a kilogram, I believe. Or 1 kilogram is 1 kilogram is 2 pounds. It will be 6.3 or 6.4 kgs. Now you can multiply that, 22 stones. So clearly the writer is happy that one who was talking about eating less today weighs a lot, and that is the way gods have settled the matter. He has not done anything. When gods take charge, well, that's how things are settled. Wonderful example, is it not? Beautiful. And what a chapter this is. And yes, we have reached now the 59th minute of our recording, and I was very happy to bring this lesson to you. Well, hope that you have enjoyed it. And there's one important thing before we stop for today. I am planning that on Wednesday, I would probably be live from 4:30 to 5:30. From 4:30 to 5:30. That's probably what I think I should do. For the 10th standard, guys, we will probably go through a poem, or we may revise grammar. So if possible, the 10th standard guys could be here on the channel Wednesday 4:30. Okay, so that's it for now. We will meet again soon. Do take care. And on Monday, that's the next lecture. First, I'll do the recording a couple of days later. And that's going to be on tenses, because I have a request for tenses, and that will be special because tenses is a topic that is applicable for all the students. The medium doesn't matter. So I will have the lecture recorded in English and in Hindi. So I'm going to use Hindi as well for explanation. That will happen in a couple of days. Well, I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this. We will meet again soon. Take care.